This is the introduction to the interview by Verona Press of Ernest Johnson. Ernest Johnson was born December 2nd, 1909 in Blanchardville, Wisconsin. He married Margaret Gruber on October 22nd, 1934. Margaret Gruber was born in Plain, Wisconsin on September 5th, 1906. Margaret and Ernie moved to Verona, Wisconsin in 1935 and lived their entire life in that town. They had 3 children. Ronald, the oldest, was born on March 23, 1941. Michael was born February 19th in 1943, and Peg was born March 2nd, 1949. All 3 of us kids would concur that we were blessed with 2 very, very caring, understanding, and nurturing parents. As with most children, we did not realize how fortunate or blessed we were until we become adults. Fortunately, both our parents lived long enough that we were able to express our gratitude for all the things they taught us about life in general. Dad taught all 3 of us many, many skills that over the course of our lives have saved us considerable costs related to hiring someone else to do those tasks. And the most significant thing, at least from my point of view, that Dad taught us was to invest as much as you could, as early as you could in your life, so that as you went through life's journey, you would not ever be dependent on anyone else.
Okay, you ready? Okay. I'm with Mr. Ernie Johnson in his living room. It's Tuesday, January 23rd, 2007, and Ernie and I are going to begin a brief interview, and we're going to discuss kind of Ernie's life and Verona and how Verona has evolved over the years. So, Mr. Johnson, I want to thank you for having me here today, and we'll start with the first of our questions. And the first questions, Ernie, are very general kind of background questions. I'd like to know when you were born, where you were born, a little bit about your parents, if you feel comfortable with it, maybe your religion, that kind of thing, your early education, grade school, things like that. So Ernie, the floor is yours.
Well, I was born in December 2nd, 1909.
Oh, right into the 20th century, okay.
And my mother was born in Norway. She came here at the age of 4. My dad's folks came from Norway, but he was born here. Both my grandparents were born in, both sides were born in Norway.
Do you know where in Norway, or?
Some of them were in Oslo. They weren't all born in the same. I don't remember stuff like that.
Okay.
And we were Lutherans, and we had a little church out in the country there, York. It's in the town of York. The old.
Now, was this in the Verona area, or?
Oh, no, this is Greene County.
Oh, Greene County.
Yeah, Greene County.
So, what was the biggest city over there?
Monroe.
Monroe. Okay. So
Yeah.
you were born close to.
I was born between Nuglares and Blanchardville. Our farm run up to 1939.
Okay.
Up to 39, not 1939.
Okay.
And we had a 240-acre farm there.
Now, were you milking? Was it a milk farm, dairy cattle, or?
Dairy. We raised dairy and pigs.
Okay.
And chickens too.
And how many head the cattle you had? Remember?
Well, we had a barn that stands in 36, and
Okay.
back then we had 6 horses. No, it was all horse machinery.
Okay.
And we got our first tractor in 1929. my dad sent me plowing up some old alfalfa, and I was there 2 days and didn't have nothing done. He said, went to town and bought a tractor.
Get it all done, huh?
Got a tractor, a disc, and a plow for $1,000. 1020 tractor.
Okay, so now you're a farm boy. You're working outside of Monroe.
Well, quite a ways from Monroe, but closer to Glarus.
Closer to Glarus. Okay. And as a typical farm kid, you worked the farm and milked the cows and did all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they started young. I think I started milk. They had one cow that was easy to milk, so I started milking when I was 6.
Did you have any brothers or sisters?
Oh yeah, I had 3 half sisters and 2 half brothers, and I had 5 brothers. So
What's a big family?
oh yeah, there was 11 of us. So there's lots of. It's a big table in a big house.
Okay, so now you're a young boy, you're working the farm, and you're going to school, going to grade school.
Well, grade school, we had 2 miles to walk cross country, and we started school at 5. And there was 40 kids in our school.
Did you have to walk uphill both ways?
It was uphill. It was uphill going. We got downhill coming back.
Okay.
And I started at 5. And, I got sick at Christmas time, and then after a couple of weeks they called the doctor, and he said I had pneumonia. And those days they cured pneumonia. They didn't cure anybody; they killed them.
So how old would you have been then?
5.
5. Okay.
Well, no, I would have been 6 then, because my birthday was the 2nd, so I would be 6 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. But they said we got the old doctor come out there with a horse and a cutter and put mustard plaster on your chest and open the window, 20 below outside. God, it was cold in that room.
You can still remember that, huh?
I'll never forget that. Then he come back in a week, and
You were still there.
I was still alive, barely. And the doctor, my mother and dad were in the dining room next to the bedroom where they had me. And my dad asked him, and I'll never forget that. He said, how is he doing? Well, if he lives, he won't amount to a damn. And I heard that. And when my mother come in, I said, I want to go in the kitchen. We had this kitchen stove with a 20-gallon tank for hot water. And I said, put some pillows on. Then the doctor told me I was going to die, and I don't want to die in this cold room. So, and that's what saved my life, because she propped me up on some pillows, and by night but I missed the whole year, missed the rest of the school year.
But you were just tough enough to prove him wrong, right?
I never amounted to much.
You proved him wrong, Ernie.
Yeah.
Okay, so now when you're going to school, and who were some of your best friends, and what was...
Well, you see, that's a different world. We live in a farm community, and we didn't have anybody. We were all friends. You know, we played every Sunday. We'd get together and go some playground and play ball. We had a baseball field by our house where we used to mow that with a hand mower and had the bases. There wasn't much for recreation, you know. In the wintertime we'd play ski and
well, Norwegian, you had to do some skiing.
yeah, we had in the wintertime back then we had a lot of snow. God, we used to ski over the top of the fences. But you know, it was
Not so much this year, anyway.
it hadn't been much here for quite a while.
So, okay, but you didn't have a best friend, like, you know, somebody, you're kind of all friends.
I had one neighbor that was about my age, and the rest of them lived 2 miles away. You know, how the heck you don't run back and forth much that way. They like today.
Did you have a favorite? Now we're talking kind of grade school yet. Did you have a favorite swimming hole or favorite?
We used to swim in the river.
What river would that have been?
That was that was what the heck did they call that? Oh, Kilson Valley. Those days, those country kids, they had to wash out a hole and we go in there. One day we'd always go skinny dip, you know, we was out in the country way up. One day a bunch wiped their clothes, that wasn't much fun.
So how'd you get home? Just
Well,
hide behind trees and...
We run till we found our clothes. Wasn't nobody around anyway.
Okay, so you're skinny dipping, you're playing ball, you're working on the farm, you've got 10 or 11 brothers and sisters.
Well, I see, we were two families. My dad's first wife died when she was 30, and then it was several years before he married my mother. So there was about 9-10 years between my half brother and me, and I was the oldest.
What was your dad's first name?
Seaver.
Seaver.
Yeah.
What was your mother's maiden name?
Anna Peterson.
Anna Peterson.
Yeah.
Okay. Was she from? Well, her parents were from Norway.
Her parents came. She was born in Norway.
Oh, she was.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's get you up to kind of like high school.
Well, high school, I had a brother that. See, we had some problems in our family. My dad's first wife's sister made a lot of trouble. So when these kids got to be 21, my dad had to pony up, I don't know why, $800 a piece. My brother went and got married. He got the 800. He bought a new Model T and he left her set. So he wasn't much of a farmer or worker anyway. So his wife's father called my dad downtown and said, "What kind of a family are you anyway?" That was unusual for back in those days.
Yeah, yeah.
So my dad bought a farm over in Iowa County and put him on that, but he also sent me along, and I was only 14 years old, so I worked there for 2 years.
So you ran the farm?
No, he's supposed to run the farm,
But you worked there?
I had to work. I had to get up, get him out of bed in the morning.
Now, this was your older brother?
Well, he was a half brother.
Okay. And what was his name?
Hans.
Hans, okay. And this is in Iowa County, so what city would you have been close to over there?
Hollandale was the closest.
Hollandale.
Yeah. It was that was on the Blue Mountains. The Blue Mountains Creek River run through our
Okay.
farm.
All right, so now you're 14, 15.
Yeah,
Are you going
then, I went to high school. See, back then, very few farm kids went to high school. My half brother started. He went 3 weeks. He quit, and I think he was wishing I'd quit so I'd be there to help him. But I made up my mind I was doing it. But there was, I think there was 27 or 20. I think there was 27 in our class,
Okay.
and in less than 6 weeks, we were down to 17. Those farm kids, those city kids, they didn't do anything to hurt you anyway.
The city kids were harder than farm kids.
Oh God, they were clannish as heck, and I got by pretty well because this is back, you know. They didn't like today. Boys and girls, very few boys had girlfriends. They had 1 or 2, and this junior ripped my pants open in front of a bunch of girls. He thought that was going to be fun. So, but I boxed a lot. I clipped him a good one. He went backwards down the steps. The principal caught him.
Okay.
And I figured, boy, when I got out of here tonight, I'll get the deal I cut. He was a big kid. But he was standing on the steps, and he didn't think I'd do it. So in the office we went, and the principal started bawling me out. I said, "What do you do that for?" I said, "Nobody rips my pants open in front of a bunch of girls who gets by. Let me go." And he stayed in there a while.
And who was the kid that you hit? Remember his name?
Bob Thompson. He never liked me very good.
Bob Thompson?
Thompson.
Thompson. Now, he was a city kid.
Oh, sure.
But you were a farm boy, so you were pretty strong.
Well, I was a little runt. But I had a neighbor teach me how to box because we had bullies back then. The other kid used to lick me every day in grade school. Because if you caught him, we played pull away. If you caught him, he beat you up. So and then my neighbor wanted Well, we had lots of small. Now, the one made to drive the team for the hay loader and hay fork. And my dad said you can have her. And he had a hard man besides us kids. And he asked me how much I wanted. This guy was a good boxer. So every noon he'd get on his knees and he'd beat the daylights out. I was pretty good with my mitts.
Who was this guy now? What was his name?
Sam Augie.
Sam Augie.
Woggy. So, yeah.
Now, was he a boxer when he was growing up, or he just...
Well, he said he was. I don't know how good he was. I'd seen him get in one fight and he got licked, so I don't know. There used to be a lot of fights back then, you know. There was nothing.
But he taught you enough to take care of yourself?
Well, he knew the basics. He knew how to put weight behind it. You know, there's a trick to that. You use your body with the punch.
Just don't go swinging away.
You don't swing away, you go this way.
Yeah. So when you were in high school, did you have any best buddies there or not?
Yes, I had quite a few. Those two brothers that were good, Ian brothers were good friends of mine.
Ian,
yeah.
Ian, okay. But as far as like boyfriends and girlfriends, that not so much that stuff. Just kind of.
I don't think I never had a girlfriend all the way through high school. But I used to walk a lot on home from basketball game, and the funniest part of that was when Ronnie was born. It was in St. Mary's. They had 12 women in one room, and this gal says, "Long time since you walked me down the railroad track." I'd have never known her. She was just a little tiny thing, and she was a good-sized woman.
So oh, okay, Ernie. So when you were in high school or grade school for that matter, did you have a favorite teacher or teachers?
Yeah, Lay was my favorite teacher. He taught woodworking.
What was his name now?
Ivan Lay. He only had one hand, but he could drive a nail with his left hand.
Oh.
He had this cut off right there. Smart guy.
So he was your like woodworking teacher.
Yeah.
He was your favorite.
Well, I had a English teacher I thought the world of because I was terrible in English. We had to pass a spelling test to graduate from high school. I couldn't pass it. So she gave me 100 words. She said, "You go home and you study them all week." She said, "I can't flunk you on that." But I only got 98 after working 2 days on it.
Well, you got the vast majority of them. Now, when you were in high school, so this would have been, you were born in 19...
I was in high school. I graduated in 28.
Okay, so you graduated. Okay, so what were your favorite songs or music or actors or actors?
Well, that goes way back to when we had music.
Okay.
I can't remember. I think, I don't know if Bing Crosby was there yet, but we had Guy Lombardo and Lawrence Welk.
That's a little bit later, but okay.
Before that, we had an orchestra. We had a 5-piece orchestra in Blanchardville that made a living playing at dances. You know, we had a lot of dances.
Did you learn how to play music?
No, I couldn't play nothing. I tried trombone. I tried guitar, banjo. I'm no good. I was a pretty good singer, and I can
still hear you at church singing away.
And I was in every play. I liked that.
What were some of the plays you're in?
Lord, I can't remember the name. We had one that was a comedy. I wanted to keep that, and I borrowed it to a fellow and he never give it back to me. That we really filled we had it. We didn't have a gym. You know, we played basketball above the store.
I was going to ask you. So now you're in high school. Were you involved in sports? Did you play baseball or basketball?
I played baseball if I could get away from work, but in the winter time I didn't stay on the farm. I stayed with an uncle, January and February.
And his name was
Oscar Olson. He was a
Olson.
He was a state senator at that time. Yeah.
Republican or Democrat?
I think he was Republican. I think all them Norwegians down there were Republicans.
All the Norwegians down there were Republicans. Okay.
Yeah.
So you played baseball. You played basketball.
Yeah. Well, they'd let you go out for practice. You know, there wasn't many kids, but this Lay was also our basketball coach. He taught. They didn't have no coaches. They just picked somebody, but he was real straight. He caught the first team at a dance, I guess, Thursday night or Wednesday night, kicked him off the team. And in order to get the fifth man, he had to use me.
So you're the
I played one game.
in high school basketball.
Yeah.
Did you score the winning basket?
I did. Here's was my orders. When they pass the ball to you, throw it back quick, but you stay with what the heck was his name? Mount Souls. Stay with him. I cut his hair for years. He never knew who I was.
Okay.
I stayed with him. He never got a. Of course, we didn't score any. You know, games they only scored 10, 12 points was big. I think we scored it 8 that night, and we beat Argonne 7-8. But they didn't have a very good team, and we were pretty bad with me in there. But I stayed. Mound never got a. He was our center. He was about 6 foot tall, and that was my man. I stayed with him like a. And he never got a bucket. He got sick of me. I didn't call him very close. You could hang on a little bit.
So, if you're working on the farm and you're driving the wagons and all that kind of stuff, you must have had a car about this time.
Car. My folks didn't get a car till 1917. There was no roads.
I thought I heard you say you got a Model T or something, or was that later?
Oh God, that was after I was 16, 17. My dad had it. We got our first car in 1917.
Okay, that was a Model T.
Model T.
So you learned how to drive a Model T.
Well, I did after my sophomore year. Then my dad wanted me at home, so I was home, and we were thrashing in a neighbor. I'd never driven a car, and he says, "You better drive that Model T home and see if you can drive." He left me drive it home all by myself.
Did you grind the gears?
There was no gears in it. Model T didn't have any gears. They had bands.
Oh, okay, all right.
You had a reverse band, and a low band, and you had brakes. The brakes didn't work. You used to reverse.
It wasn't very complicated then, was it?
No. The steering was fast. You could turn on the dial.
Okay, so I've got you up to, you're in high school somewhere. You're sophomore, junior, kind of in there. You're sometimes on the farm, sometimes you're in Iowa helping out. You're playing some baseball when you can get out. You're playing some basketball to hold it some guy.
Oh, I read that. That's the only basketball I ever played was that.
Okay.
I'd practice with them.
What else did you do for fun?
Play baseball. And we...
What position?
Huh?
What position?
I played second base.
Were you good?
No.
No?
I could hit, but I couldn't hit it very far.
Well, I played ball with Mickey. He was pretty good.
Yeah, well, he was a lot better athlete.
Did he get that from you, or?
I don't know. Probably. I was a good fielder, and I could always hit, but I never hit. I don't think I ever hit a home run.
Well, the singles and doubles are great.
Singles I hit most.
Okay. So I've got you about to high school. So now let's take some time and now we're changing gears a little bit.
Okay.
Now we're going to go from about maybe say 16, 17 till you're let's say about 30.
Well, that takes a lot of territory.
Well, great. So what I want you to do, and that sheet's in front of you. I want to know if you went on to school. I want to know what your jobs were. I want to know at this point who your best friends are, if you're dating, if you had a girlfriend, when you got married, that kind of thing.
Well,
when you moved to Verona, are you still down around Argyle and Blanchardville and New Glarus?
Well, I made a lot of moves. I stayed when I was 16. We had too much help at home. My younger brothers would get, so I worked for my neighbor.
Okay.
In the summertime, between I got $50 a month. That was a lot of money back them days. And
but this is on the farm again.
This is on the farm. I think I was probably 17. But then, of course, we my dad didn't have a hired man anymore, but he'd send two of us guys. When we go thrashing, he'd send two of us. So the two of us made a man.
Okay, I see. All right. Two 16, 17-year-old boys made a
Well,
man.
he was younger now, but he was, see, when I had pneumonia, he caught up to me, and he was always my size. They always thought they were twins.
Okay.
That was kind of a run. Anyhow, I did that 2 years, and those 2 years this guy lived right by the cheese factory, and we got a new cheese maker that couldn't talk English, so.
Where was he from? Norway again?
No, that Swiss.
Oh,
They would never hire the Swiss if he could make cheese, but they had to hire a Swiss because the Norwegians couldn't make cheese.
All right.
So I taught him how to talk English, and he taught me how to yodel. I learned a lot of Swiss from him.
Let's hear you yodel.
Oh, I can't yodel.
Oh.
I yodeled once since I come to Verona,
When did you get to Verona?
1935. We were at a dance at
Now, who was we?
Margaret and I. This after we were married.
Okay.
We went to Eagles Club a lot, and Fritz Nusswander was, I think he still lives there, he said, I can yodel. I said, so can I. I'll bet you a drink for the once you can. And I yodeled away, and Margaret thought I had a buzz on. It cost Fritz quite a few drinks.
Okay. Okay. So
That's the last time I yodeled.
well, now you're a little bit ahead of me, but that's all right. So I want to know again.
Then when when my brother finished high school, why, they didn't need me at all, so I had to get a job, and this was Depression. And those Swiss were better farmers than the Norwegians. You couldn't get a job, so there was three of us young guys. We went to work for a farm. I worked for Strife in New Glarus for a year. You thought you know how to work before you worked there. You found out you didn't know nothing about work.
What made the Swiss better farmers than the Norwegians?
Well, I don't, they worked harder. When I worked for this guy, we got up at 4 and worked till 9 every day. 7. By Sunday, you had to work till noon on Sunday, so you only had about 3 hours off on Sunday. There was no day off. I stayed there for a year, and then my brother-in-law wanted me to come and run his farm. He says, you shouldn't be.
Now, did you meet your wife in here somewhere?
Oh, not yet.
Not yet, okay.
So I went up there, and I got up there. I got a wide awakening. Half of the cows were calf, and the doors were falling off. The barn was in terrible shape. There wasn't a fence on the farm.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
So, God, I worked like a dog. But milk was, we got 7 cents a pound for cheese, you know, and I didn't have any milk.
So this would have been shortly after the Depression.
This was Depression.
So 1931.
This would be about 31.
Okay.
And I was farming down by Mount Horeb then.
So you would have been about
20.
25 or so?
Oh, no.
No, 20?
20, about 20.
Okay.
But a neighbor couldn't afford a hired man, so I worked for him for $1 a day between milking, so that's how I made a living. But I fenced the whole thing and got the cows all in calves.
Now, where were you living?
They lived in the house, see, so I lived with them.
Okay.
Well, ordinarily, you rent a farm, you get the house, so I got my room and board.
This was Strife.
No,
No?
Jeglum.
Oh, Jeglum.
Yeah.
So Strife was down by
Strife was New Glarus.
Now I'm by Mount Horeb.
You're in Mount Horeb now.
And the name is Jeglum.
Yeah. About 2 miles south of Mount Horeb. Right off of 78. Well, then, I had things going pretty good. I thought, well, next year I'll make a little money. Then, 2 days before Christmas, he said, well, I guess, Ernie, you better look for a job 1st of March because I'm going to run it myself.
Okay.
Well, I said, you better get a man tomorrow because I'm leaving today. And I did. I left that day. I went.
And went where?
Well, you always had a home you could go to.
Okay, so you went back home.
I went back home. I wasn't going to stay there, but I didn't have any place else to go. So I was going with a girl, south of our place there.
What was her name?
Bruceville.
Say it again.
Bruceville.
Bruceville.
Yeah.
What was her first name?
Dora.
Dora Bruceville.
Yeah.
That name kind of rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
Yeah. I had been going with her quite a while.
Where'd you meet her?
Oh, I suppose at a dance. I don't remember. That's the only recreation was back then. Play baseball or go to dances. Sometimes in the house we'd have dances. Well, anyway, I traded car. I had that Model T, and I got a pretty doggone nice Chevy. And her brother, I knew him pretty well. He wasn't really good. He was a pretty good friend too. And he said, "I want to go to barber school. I want to go to Milwaukee. I hate to drive this Model T." Well, I said, "I'll go down. I ain't got nothing to do." So we went to Milwaukee. I remember who he took along, and I took Dora with me.
So we're driving your car with Dora and her brother, and you're going to Milwaukee to look into this barber school.
Yeah, I wasn't. I just went for the ride.
Okay.
Because I'd never been to Milwaukee.
That's a long drive.
Was then.
Yeah.
You went through all these little towns, and then Blanchardville is 30 miles from here. So I got there listening to that guy telling about all the money, big barber business. I took it hook, line, and sinker, and I decided I was going to go to barber school.
So you're 22, 3 years old now?
No, I'm about 21.
21 yet? Okay.
21 or two, maybe 22. Yeah, it couldn't be much more than 21. Anyway, I sold my car, went to Milwaukee, and things went pretty good. I got along pretty well because I always liked cutting hair. I used to cut my uncle's hair, and my dad had a hair cutting outfit, and I kind of liked it. So I thought but I was very good with it. I could sharpen a razor, but I hated to shave, and that's the way you made a living after you got out of the shop. Anyway, that was fine as long as you had money. I had money, but they closed the bank, and I damn near starved to death down there because I wrote my dad, and he was mad when I went. He wasn't very well. He was right. He said, "I never saw a barber make." We didn't make any money, We were 20 cents for a haircut, 40 cents for a shave, and you sat around all day and worked half the night. It was a terrible life, really. So he sold the cow. He got $25 for the cow. When that was gone, I was working at a shop out on Center Street.
Now we're still in Milwaukee.
I'm still in Milwaukee,
Okay.
hoping to get the heck out of there.
Yeah.
This old guy was a miserable old guy. We got 15 cents for haircut, 15 cents for a shave, and he wouldn't help you at all. I hired him. One day, a young lady come in and wanted a downer bob, but I didn't know what a downer bob was. And I went over to him. I said, "Well, what's that?" "I hired a barber." He said, "Well, what the heck?" I went back and whacked away, fixed it up so I thought it looked pretty good. My gosh, in about 3 weeks he came back, and I was busy. I had third chair, so you sat around. And I'm going to wait for that young guy. She said, "Boy, that made me feel good."
So there were 3 chairs this barber day?
Yeah, and I was third chair.
Okay.
And you had to take Monday off. Every other one of those barber shops all over Milwaukee. Anyhow,
Do you remember where it was in Milwaukee?
Center Street.
Is it the north side, south side? I'm trying to, because I was born in Waukesha.
Yeah, well,
And I'm kind of familiar with it. I was down by the river.
no. School was down by the river. This was across the river. It went west. I don't know what. That was west, I think.
Okay.
Center Street was west.
Okay.
And it was a business area. God, I walk 5 miles to work every morning. Well, then you could, if you had a nickel, they let you eat all the bread crusts you wanted.
Okay.
And that's what I lived on a few days, bread crusts. And you get a lot of peanuts for a penny, so you pay the peanuts and that. Pretty rough. But then one Monday I was down there I didn't have nothing to do on Monday, you know. So I'd go down to barber school. And I was in there. This guy wanted a barber, and nobody wanted a job. Frank run the school. I said, how come no one wants that job? Only pays $3 a week, room, board, and washing. I said, that woman's got to be a terrible cook if she don't eat any better than I do. So I said, well, then go and talk to her. So, well, he wanted a shave and a haircut, shampoo, massage. And I didn't have no tools. But then I was real good friends with a Polish kid, Julius Delikowski. Now I can't remember names, but I got that down.
Julius Delikowski, okay.
Yeah, I got that. He says, you could use my tools. Yeah, and I said, your razor's always dull. Yeah, not today, Frank Sharp. So I give this guy a shave and a haircut, shampoo, massage. He gets down. I'd like to hire you. He says, when can you start? I said, you happen to have room?
Yeah.
That I could go with you? Oh yeah, he was taking a pic. So was I. I couldn't have got out of Milwaukee.
Right. So who is this guy now?
Heiser. Boots, we call him.
Boots Heitzer?
Yeah, that isn't his right name. That's what we always call him. I can't think what his real name was now.
His last name, I mean.
Heiser.
Heiser.
Yeah.
Heiser. Okay.
Well, anyway, I called this Tommy. We roomed together. You know what we paid for a room then? 2 guys?
For a night? A week?
A week.
$1. $2.
$2.
Okay.
$2 a week. Yeah, it cost money.
So you called Tommy and told him you're getting out?
Yeah, I tell him, you gotta come and get down there. He had that Model T, he had got it to Milwaukee. And he took me out this Walnut Street. That's where my wife, and that's where I met my wife. She was the sister to Boots. Boots was married to her sister.
Okay. Boots Heiser
Yeah.
was married to the sister
Yeah.
of the young lady you're about to meet.
Yeah, she didn't know. Anyhow, that's when I got to Plain. My first customer was
Plain?
Plain, yeah. I'd never heard of the town.
Okay.
My first customer was Ed Kramer. And he was the only guy in town that had any money. He owned Kramer's Construction.
Right.
And nobody wanted to get in your chair, you know. You were done coming in, and it was all his men come in to get shaved on Saturday.
So what year am I now? 19...
That's 1933.
33, so you're 21 or 22.
I'm probably, 22 anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, about 22.
And are you dating your...
Oh, hell no, not. I just got there.
But I thought you met your wife in Milwaukee.
Yeah, but I didn't know her from a Bailey. Hey, she didn't talk about it.
Okay. So now you're out in Plain and you're cutting Ed Kramer's hair.
No, there was 3 guys waiting, and nobody get in. And Ed said, you aren't busy. Well, you can shave me. See, they get shaved. Those guys that get shaved about 3 times a week. Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, I don't remember. Ed used to get every other day, he'd get shaved. Well, you can shave me every morning. He said, so I got started. And I always had a sharp razor, but I was not very good. But I always shaved him. If my chair was empty, I shaved him. And
That's a good guy to get to know.
oh God, he helped me. He was also a carpenter. When I built my house, these carpenters here wouldn't tell you nothing. So I'd always, well, my wife's mother was sick, so we'd go out there a lot. He'd always, this is the way you do it.
So he's a good guy.
Oh, he's a wonderful man. I never met a nicer guy than him. Well, see, I was out. Oh, that's.
So now you're cutting hair out in Plain.
Yeah.
It's about 1933-ish, 34.
No, 33.
33. You're 21
Well,
or 2, something like that.
About 22, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, and see, $3 a week. We had some kind of a deal that you had to lock up a half a day. So I changed tires on Thursday afternoon. I got 50 cents for.
Changing whose tires?
Oh, you couldn't buy tires, you know. It was during.
Oh, I see. Change them and repair them.
Oh God, you put patches. I got so I could fix quite a few tires an hour. It was split rims, you know. God.
So you're working an awful lot. Are you having fun? Are you doing? You playing any more ball or fishing?
Not after I did a lot of fishing out there because I got to know my boss liked to fish, so I went. They were good to me. I was lucky to get out there because I had a good home. I never did, and you know it didn't cost you much, you know. And then I got another good customer out there, a guy by the name of Schutz. He had
Schutz?
Yeah. He had a garage, and he says, God, he says, you ain't got no car. How do you get out? I said, I don't get out. Oh, you got to get out once in a while. So he says, when you want a car, you come down, I'll always put a little gas in. He never charged me. And then I did try to date my wife a couple of times. She wasn't much interested.
So you're in Plain. She's in Milwaukee.
No, she was keeping house. She left.
I'm trying to figure out how you're getting back and forth to Milwaukee.
Oh no. She used to live in Milwaukee. She did the beauty school.
Okay.
And she didn't like it,
so she came back out this way.
She went back out on the farm with her folks because her mother was sick, so she was keeping house for her folks.
And where's this?
That's northwest of Spring Green.
Okay, and what's her maiden name?
Gruber.
Gruber.
Yeah.
Grub?
ER. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
So you're trying.
She wouldn't even dance. I went to dances, but she wouldn't even dance. So that.
So
then.
What you wear her down here? Or, okay, go on. Where?
Then some Ringling Brothers at that time were stationed in Baraboo.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, how'd you like to go to? I pulled that on her at a dance. I said, how'd you like to go to the Ringling Brothers circus? Oh God, she'd like that. That's how I got wiggled in. That's the only time I don't like circus.
Aren't you a sly dog? So you get her to go to a circus.
Never went took her again to a circus. I don't even watch it on television.
All right.
I don't like drop them girls up and then dogs and let them go. And what if you didn't catch them?
Okay, so your first date, your first real date, is taking her to a circus.
Yeah, that's.
And you don't take her out, take her to a circus again, but you start dating her.
Yeah, then we start going. Pretty. Well, you couldn't go too dang much, you know. On $3 a week, you don't run around.
Yeah.
But we did go to. She'd go to dance, and then pretty soon I got to
follow along.
Get a car, and take her home, you know. So
you're working all the angles now.
You gotta.
Okay.
When you're broke.
All right, now let's take a little shift gears here a little bit. So it's 1932, 33. You're in
33. Yes.
Okay, you're into the Depression. And I'll just ask you this question, and then you can answer it, and then I have to flip the tape. So if you want to get a drink of water or something, you can. What was the politics like around Plain and Spring Green? Were they Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives? You didn't know.
You did. See, that was pretty. See, that was Roosevelt was in then, you know. So there wasn't. Republicans were in, and things were so bad that there was not much talk about politics.
Okay.
And I had.
Okay, that's fine. So you're a young man. You're dating this young lady. Sometimes you get a car. You're working in the barber shop. Is Ed Kramer and the Schutz guy are your buddies? When do you? Well, tell me how you proposed to your wife. And then,
Oh, God.
how do you get over to Verona? How do you go from Plain
Well,
to Verona?
I'll get you there.
Okay.
You want to quit now, or do you want?
Well, yeah. Let's. Well, you got it. Okay, we'll stop right here. I'll turn this. Okay, I'm back with Ernie. We took a little break there. It's about 1932, 33. Ernie's dating his.
That's 33.
Okay, he's dating his wife. He took her to the circus on something of a ruse, and we're going to take off from there. Okay, Ernie, the floor is yours.
Well, I don't remember. I tell you, we used to go fishing a lot. We'd go fishing. I don't think I can't remember. When I proposed to her, I can't. That's a long time ago.
You
I
took
must have popped the question.
At some point, you had to. Okay.
Yeah, I remember. I remember going to get her ring. We went to Madison to get a diamond, and it had to be in the spring sometime. Then she got off on Thursday coming home. We stopped at that bar. She wanted a beer, and they got a warm beer, and she got sick. I'll never forget. She was sicker than a double today.
On the warm beer, huh?
Yeah, I think that was I think the night before. Well, then this was this, and then we went to get married.
Now you were a Lutheran.
Well,
Was she Lutheran?
no, she was Catholic.
She was Catholic.
My dad was. I think he was about a generation ahead of us, but he had a lot of Catholic friends because he was a town chairman. So and when I come home, told him, and I told him, oh, quite a while. We were engaged quite a while before we got married, I guess. And he said, well, what are you going to do about religion? He said, she's not going to turn Lutheran. There ain't no Lutheran church up there, because my dad had come up and he got to be good friends with my father.
And your father-in-law's name is?
Gruber.
What's his first name?
Alice Gruber.
Alice? Okay.
So he says, you better turn Catholic. You can't have two people going to different churches. So then I took instruction.
Now, was she a farm girl too, or?
Well, sure, she was a farm girl.
Now you just said that your dad was the town chairman or something?
Yeah, in the town of New York, Greene County.
Okay, so he was kind of involved in politics, at least a little bit.
Oh, he was town chairman for, I don't know, about 25, 30 years. Well, he also, and I didn't know that till after I was married. He said, I suppose he always thought I was kind of lazy. He never did any hard work. He had a heart attack when he was 35.
Ooh.
And they told him he should go to bed and stay quiet. And why, he had family, he couldn't do that. So he was good. He'd milk cows, and he'd mow hay and rake hay and cut.
Which isn't easy.
Well, those days it looked easy. You know, these guys today don't know what a day's work is. I could kill some of them yet, the way they.
I believe you, Ernie. Okay, so your father had a heart attack, but you didn't know about this.
I didn't know. He told me that after I was married. He came up there. He wanted to go up to see my aunt, and then he told me a lot of things. That my brother and I and another kid stole apples from a neighbor. Well, we didn't know the neighbor was. The neighbor was married to a gal from this same guy I worked for. I stole apples from when I was a kid. He was on those hills down. He could see. He was up on the hill, on our hill,
yeah.
And these three kids. He knew who they were. So when I come home that night, he said, "Did you see Otto Jeglum today?" No. Well, he's in the hospital. They don't expect him to live. He sprayed his apples with some stuff. God, we were sick for a week. He didn't tell me that till I was married.
So your dad's kind of a prankster here, huh?
But he he never, he would never, I don't think he ever scolded you. But he had a way of letting you know when you did something wrong. If you went out and stayed out too late, he'd get you up early and you'd pick rocks all day. So he had
his own way of discipline.
He had his own way of discipline.
Which gets me to a question I was going to ask later, but as long as you kind of touched on it, is when you had your children, did you discipline them differently than your father disciplined you? And
I had this. I don't think that's a little different. You see, you raise them in town and on a farm. You know, your kids on a farm don't. Back when I was a kid, didn't have much chance to ever get in any trouble because God, you're working all the time. But Mickey had Ronnie. I had my problems with him, but I was tough. I made my kids work. They were the most abused kids in Verona. Because
if you don't believe it, ask them.
Yeah. Well, they don't complain now because I taught them the cabinet business.
Yep.
Taught them the barber. Both of them taught both the barber bit. And my dad was real. See, I worked with the carpenter one summer when I was a kid, about 16.
Learned lots of stuff.
Yeah, I learned how to mix concrete, and I learned how to carry blocks, and all. And I finished. My dad couldn't fix nothing, but boy, he let you do. I put the roof. Well, he had the rafters on, but I put the roof on that milk house, and I helped build several, and I stayed with him till we got out to a barn about 40 feet up in the air, and then I quit. Found out I wasn't a carpenter because I can't climb.
Didn't want to get that high up. Well, let's figure out a way to get you from Plain to Verona.
Well, that ain't too hard.
Okay.
April 17th, I got my journeyman's card.
That's for barber school.
Barbers from the state.
Okay.
And I didn't finish there. See, I got married and went on a honeymoon. I went to the World's Fair.
And what year was this?
1934.
Yeah.
And we got home from our honeymoon, and my wife.
And where was the World's Fair?
Chicago.
That's a long drive too.
Well, we drove to Milwaukee. She had friends in Milwaukee, you know. And then we took the train to Chicago, and she had relatives in Chicago-ish there, you know. Didn't have it. But those people had less money than I had. And I had a few bucks, not much. And we stayed with these old maids in Chicago. And they'd never had money enough to go to the World's Fair.
But
So
now you show up and you've got a couple of bucks.
it only cost a buck to get him in, and 25 cents. We saw a lot of shows it cost me $1 every time, but I did have a few bucks. So I saw Sally Rand dance for a quarter, and I bought those 4 tickets, and this women said, "Oh, we can't go and see that." Well, I said, I paid, I'm going in. It's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen.
What kind of a dance was it?
Fan dance. She had a fan. Haven't you heard of Sally Rand?
I've heard of it, but I want to hear you tell the story.
Well, we went in there. She come out, well, dressed, you know, dancing around a little bit. And,
A lot of people there?
well, you know, nothing compared to what you see today.
Okay.
You know, if there were a lot of people coming, they would have raised the price.
All right. Okay.
But, boy, I tell you, that fan had different, and that didn't be 8 foot at least go on. Well, she might have, had a fur coat on, you know.
You couldn't really see anything with the fan going on.
That fan was, she was a beautiful dancer.
Okay.
Good looking gal with her clothes on.
Okay. So you enjoyed this?
Yes, I enjoyed the World's Fair.
Okay.
But then we got home, and my wife ended up in the hospital for a week with a kidney infection. They couldn't cure anything, and everything them days they put you to bed.
Yep.
She was in bed for 2 months.
Oh, with a kidney infection.
Yeah, with a kidney.
Now, how, was she at home or was she in the hospital?
Well, she was at her mother's and father's.
Okay.
And they had to so there was part of our income gone because she was going to get $25 a month for keeping house, but then they had to hire another girl. So, boy, it was a pretty tough thing. But then I got in right away, which was unusual. And I got down, I got an easy head of hair, an easy shave. I went through him for an apprentice.
Oh, this is the testing part for your...
You had to pass an exam.
Okay.
And when I got all done, he says, you better fix up that haircut. And I used to have a short fuse anyway. I looked at that haircut and I said, turned around and I said, there ain't a damn thing wrong with that haircut. And I took the haircut off. And I was angry all the way home. I figured I flunked.
Mm-hmm.
One day I got a few days later I got my license.
You're still in playing though?
I'm still in playing. Well, my brother-in-law, both of them, one night they didn't get home milk in my hand. So I helped him milk because I could milk. And I was kind of teed off at barber too, because I don't care where you went, nobody made any money. So I said to him, maybe I ought to quit barbering and run the farm. No, he said, he always called me Slim.
Slim?
Yeah.
So this is your brother-in-law?
No, that's my father-in-law.
Oh, this is your father-in-law. Okay, I'm sorry.
He says, Dog, Slim, he says, I want you to get a barber shop of your own and get the hell out of here. He was kind of teed off with some other guy. So then I decided, well, I talked to Margaret. She was up and around again. He says, furthermore, he says, you can't, those days women had to do a lot of work. Margaret ain't healthy enough. She's not a farmer, so she's all right in the house, but she's not a farmer. So she was a good milker, but a lot of women run tractors and everything back. So then I started looking. Then my dad was, as much as he hated being a barber, he went with me to my barber shop. We had 3 spots we could go. We could go to Poinette, Verona, or Broadhead. And I liked Broadhead shop. It was a nice. I'm going to show you a picture. Well, I'll show you that after.
That's fine. That's fine.
Can't walk away from this mic here.
No, I can turn it off. That's right. Keep going.
And so he didn't go to Poinette. He says, I'll go up there if you like it. But I didn't like it. Margaret, he had a great big room with a chair and a mirror, nothing in there. It was much of a shop. So then we went to Broadhead. Margaret didn't go along. And I guess she stayed with my mother down at the farm. And he had me sold, My dad come in, he says, come on, let's go.
So this is a guy who already owns a barber shop.
Yeah.
And he wants to sell it, and you're looking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come in, and I said, I liked it. Yeah, he said, you like it? He says he sells it every year to somebody, and then he starts the shop across the street.
Oh.
Well, that only left Verona.
Okay. So where'd you start up in Verona?
Where Kunstman used to have the store, remember, or the pharmacy. Well, the pharmacy. That's where. I'll show you a picture of that.
Okay.
And it don't show it. Well, then we moved to Verona.
So now this would be what year? And you're
1935.
35. You're married. No kids yet.
No.
And where'd you buy a house?
Didn't buy. Oh, we couldn't buy a house.
Okay. Where you renting or where you living?
We lived upstairs. 3 shack. It was a shack of a house. You wouldn't get a woman to move into anything like that today.
Okay, but downstairs was the
barber shop and the insurance office. See?
All right.
Spot. And then things started out real good in Verona. She was in the hospital 3 times the first year. She had appendix. She had, I don't know. And when she had the pennies out, I owed $100 at that time.
Is this at St. Mary's or you or?
It was at St. Mary's.
Okay.
I don't know. Her folks always went to St. Mary's, so I went to Dean Clinic way back when they were uptown. So, but at Wyland operated. He charged me $100. Dean come
Dr. Weiland?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's a Verona boy too.
Huh?
He's from Verona also.
Well, Doc Wyland was Burr's father.
Right.
And God, he'd come down to collect for everything. He'd come on Saturday when there was a lot of people in there. And one of the old farmers says, you know, if it was me, I'd throw him out. Well, I said, I owe him the money in my. So I didn't. You know, you didn't have anybody that knew you here. But I thought, I'm going over. Old John Miller run the bank then.
Okay.
And I said, I'm going over. He come on down Saturday. He said, I knocked off $25 if you pay me.
This is Dr. Weiland?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I thought, well, $25, that's a lot of money. So I went over to John and I said,
this is John Miller who runs the Bank of Verona?
he was at that time.
Okay.
Yeah. He was in there before old Alex.
Okay.
And, well, he said, you know, I made it a point to give everybody, he says, you got tough going. I made it a point to always give a guy a chance. And if you pay me back, you will never have any money. So I paid him back $5, $10 at a time. And I've always had good. Bank of Verona has always been good to me.
Well, fantastic. So now you've paid off Doc Weiland. You're paying off the Bank of Verona. You're living in this
shack
with with a barber shop and insurance agency or something downstairs. It's about 1936.
Yeah, it was 36. That's when we had the cold winter.
Okay.
Snow and everything. God, it was cold. And there was a guy by the name of Joe Brown. He was selling wood. He brought a load of wood, $9. Imagine a big truckload of wood for $9. And I said, Joe, you can hold it out. Yeah, when I got the $9, I'll do.
So how big is Verona at this time?
Well, when I came here, it was 399. That was on the post.
On the sign, huh?
Yeah.
So 309, this isn't a city, it's a town.
It's a village.
Village.
Yeah. They had sewer and water. I can remember that was put in when I was in high school, so it was put in 27, 28, right in there.
And so the high school itself, or the school itself, was up on the hill over there. Right?
Well, that school at that time was a little building down on Marietta Street. That was the graded school up that's still there.
Okay.
But then they built onto the school, you know. That was the what the heck they call that? The government. That only.
All the public works stuff, the WPA and all that.
Yeah, WPA.
Okay.
That only cost $91,000, and they could have had it a lot bigger for another 10. They should.
Who's the mayor or whatever? Who's running the city? Remember?
The city.
Or the
That's
town?
when I can't tell you exact. When I came, it was Meyer and Myers, and then
Myron Myers.
Meyer and Myers, and I think it was Alex Miller. Then it was
So that's
or was Stanley Gordon. I think Stanley Gordon come after Miller.
So when you say Alex Miller, you mean like Miller's supermarket?
His dad.
His dad. Okay.
Yeah. No, it would be Joan Miller's dad.
Okay.
Joan, I don't know what her name is now. She was married to Fritz Durst, and Junior Miller.
All right. So
You know Junior?
I think so.
Yeah, he used to run the bank, you know, and then his son. Yeah.
So the Millers are kind of the
Well, Millers and Stewarts. This was a Scotch town, you know, and I.
Now watch how you say that, because I'm Scotch-Irish here, so.
Well, that's nothing wrong with that, but there was mostly Scotch people here.
Okay.
One of the best friends I had was a Scotchman.
Who's he?
His name was Eddie Davidson. He had money, and he was real good to me. He get it. This is the only guy I ever had that did shaving, a haircut, shampoo, and a massage. He'd get that every time. And in the winter time, he would go to Florida and he'd leave all his clothes, and I'd send them to Sabaduski's. But he didn't realize, that I had to pay for those. And one time I found $37 in his pocket. So he come back the next, and he talks, he'd always say, how much do I owe you? I said, Eddie, I owe you. I said, there was $37 in your pocket, and I took out, and I put it in a place I couldn't, that I wouldn't spend it. And I said, here's your change. Well, he said, I've always liked honest people. Keep the money.
Well, how did he get his money? What did he do?
Well, he was a farmer.
Okay.
He was a farmer, and maybe he inherited. No, but none of the other. He wore a necktie and suit when he come downtown.
Pretty
Always.
sharp, huh?
Nice, but nobody liked him. But God, he was a nice guy.
Got along with you.
Huh?
Got along with you.
Well, there's nothing wrong with the guy. They were jealous. They didn't like it because he dressed up, and he went to Florida in the wintertime.
Okay, so now you're in Verona. You're making some friends, except nobody likes this Davidson guy.
Yeah. Well, I maybe made something wrong. He had some friends,
Right.
but the average old fella didn't like him.
So is Verona, I keep coming back to this question, not to beat the drum, but would you say Verona was a Democratic community? It was Republican? Because you're getting towards the middle end of the Depression.
I don't know. You see, I didn't pay much attention to it.
Okay. What were some of the big issues then?
Well, the big issues then was expanding Verona. Some didn't want it, others did.
Kind of like today.
Well, you see, we were run by a bunch of farmers, really. The village board had Bill Miller, Joe Batker, he was a blacksmith, but he was from farm, and Arnie Detweiler, Frank Brown, these guys are all retired farmers, most of them. And they were pretty conservative.
So
Nice guys.
Nice guys, but they were like the city town council or something, and they.
Oh, well, and they were. See, the way I ended up, they couldn't get anybody to run, and I like a darn fool took it back then, or whatever year it was. And Verona wasn't. They had Miller Edition had. My house was built. That was already built in, but they did it the cheap way. They didn't put in sewer and gutter.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, and even this, what do you consider, like where Bill Lush's house was set up? See, all those curb and gutter was put in when I was village president.
And when was that? What year was that?
Well, I don't know, this is the 50s somewhere.
Okay.
See, then this come in, and I had the same board, but they were pretty good. I said, let's not let them do that here. Let's put this curb and gutter in the streets before we let them build, so these houses will be, and then we put curb and gutter, sewer and water, curb and gutter and all that stuff up there, And you see, we had another bad problem. There was no storm sewer in, and every spring when the cemetery is, the road would be covered with water for a long time. No way out. And I was instrumental in getting that. See what Stewart was on the county board, and I tell you, he did a lot for Verona, but he never got the credit.
Now, I interviewed somebody earlier, excuse me, who said that Stewart and Miller kind of had the grocery store shop over there.
Yeah.
And that Stewart, like you just said, was kind of more concerned with the county.
Yeah.
And the senior Miller was more concerned with the city. Is that?
Yeah, he was on the city council. Well, but they were both nice guys. Bill Miller was a nice guy. He was principal. But Stewart, politics was no different back then. There's not only on a small. See, when I was village president, we built Fireman's Park, and we did that we bought that land. I think was it $1,500, 20 acres, and got the thing ready so you could swim in it for little or nothing, because we we borrowed the county equipment, and we had local guys work for the county, so they didn't have to pay them. And I don't know if, I suppose we paid for the gas, I don't remember, but we got that done cheap. And we had people against that too. Weiland was one of the.
No, this is Doc Weiland.
Doc Weiland. He went down and took sample, sent it in the
quarry water or whatever.
The water, and then he thought he'd get it. So he'd come to me, and it'd come back fit for human consumption. I took it up to him. He said that water would be dangerous to swim in.
Oh, so he did.
He was against everything. He is quite a character.
Okay, so now we're sneaking up to about 1940, just before the war starts.
Yeah.
You become a fixture in Verona.
Not just fixture.
Well, okay, but people are starting.
My dad had come up, but between him and Margaret, they just pestered the devil out of him. You got to get out of this place. I'll show you a picture of our farmhouse. My dad was a pretty good provider. So this lot with the barber shop and insurance office was for sale. And I don't know why, I scared up $500 some way. I must have had, I don't think I stole it.
Okay.
And I bought that, and I sold half to Huff. And then he come on and he says, no.
Now Huff, what's his first name?
Andrew Huff. He was an upholsterer.
Okay.
He upholstered. He used to be in that same building where the liquor store was, where they built that new building.
Right.
Anyhow, my dad said, now you get some plans. And I showed him the plans we found, and he said, they're too small. But that's one time I think I was right. I'm glad I built it, that I didn't end up living there.
You didn't?
Yeah. You see, I built the house on Schumann Street.
Okay.
So he said, you get that basement dug this fall. You got plenty of time in the evenings. You could. So I'd get Albert Gus. He had an old Schweitzer working for him off and on. My name was Willie. And him and I dug that basement.
Now this is to the barber shop.
Where the barber shop
is now.
Yeah.
Okay.
We dug that in the fall, and he was a good shovel man. You know, we'd plow it and we'd scrape it out, but he was good at wearing up. We got that dug in the fall, so in the spring we built that in 41, just before the war. So we got it done just.
Okay, so the current barber shop and that what's now like an insurance agency or something.
No, well, the insurance agency is on the Huff property. The dentist office I built for a guy by the name of Benson.
Okay, but that was all built at the same time?
No.
Just
he talked me. That's the best thing I ever did. It turned out that's been my retirement.
Okay.
The dentist office. I sold that. I'm outliving my income, because I sold that on a land contract. I'm still getting $440 every month, but that's going to end this spring, I think.
Well,
I'll borrow some from you.
Yeah, you won't get much. Borrow from Mickey. He's got a ton. Okay, so now the war is just about to start.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem so far that Verona has, as I can tell, is just its size. It's growing.
It's growing. It hadn't grown much before the war.
And this is another question I've asked to all the people I've interviewed, and I'm getting kind of the same answer. So we'll see how you do. What was the impact of Madison on Verona then? And is it the same as today? Because today, Madison's coming this way and it's growing, and it's going to take over Verona.
You heard that. But you see, we didn't have any industry. And I got to take credit for Carnes being here, because I pulled a lot of strings to get Bill Carnes out here.
Now, how'd you know him?
Well, I don't know how I got to know him. I guess because I was village president, he come and I worked with him.
But you said you weren't village president until 53
Well, this would be in the 50s.
Okay, that's right. Okay.
So, you see, nobody wanted Carnes here. And we pulled some strings. you know, it was a country. They didn't want Madison out here. They wanted to stay like we were. We had 4 grocery stores, 3 garages,
Your barbershop?
2 barbershops, 2 places that fixed shoes and
Who was your competition?
Harley Winkham was here when I came, and he had a barber working for him. So that was, and we lived off. But you see, we had more people. You know, the 80-acre farm, they had hired men because they had everything by hand. So, and there was 4 stores, for Stuart Miller, where the butcher shop was, I can't remember. I can't remember the name of that guy that was in there. And then you had Grubbin and Monnier and Kunzman.
Kunzman and Grubbin and Monnier?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you had 4, and filling station. God, I don't know how many places. Everybody sold gas. So I don't know how a guy in a filling station would make a living. Fix tires, I guess.
So when the war starts, you got to be pushing 30.
I guess I was pushing 40.
Oh, yes, you were. That's right.
Yeah, you see,
You're close to 40.
And I never knew till the guy was on his deathbed how come I didn't get drafted right away.
All right.
I ended up working at True XT during the war. I worked out there for at least 6 months, I guess. And then
what'd you do out there?
cut hair.
Okay. For all the service
There
men?
was 12,000 soldiers out there.
Okay.
And we had 7 barbershops, and that's where it's the best thing that ever happened to me. I had the best instructor that ever lived. I worked one day, and the next morning I come to work, there was a sign on my chair, report to the officer's shop. And I thought, boy, you're going to give me a boost right away. Like heck, I got a boost. I caught hell all day. He stood over, he gave me a haircut. He could cut your hair in about 6 minutes. That's as good a haircut you ever see.
What's his name?
Fank.
Fank?
Yeah. Yeah, he made bundles of money, and then he went into cabinet business and lost the whole work. He had a shop in Madison, one in...
Remember his first name? That's right, Fank. So he shows you how to cut hair.
Boy, I'll tell you, he could cut hair. And we had to do 7 an hour. And I got so I could do. But you see, it didn't go over very big. But I got by during the war, and that's when I made my money. When I got, I only got 50 cents. We couldn't raise our prices, 50 and 25.
Yeah.
But I was doing 6 haircuts an hour. And
Out there?
Here.
Oh, here.
Here.
Oh.
Yeah, see, all of a sudden there was no soldiers. And it was the worst place I ever worked, you know. This guy, they only had 7 shops, they had 7 barbers, and then all these flunkies, they were tough cookies. You didn't want to go down the latrine. If I'd never go down there unless they were just starting a haircut. You go down, they'd beat up a couple guys to go down. If you were a good barber, they were going to put you on a commission. So
so the tough guys to work for were the other barbers.
Yeah, the Fank was a nice guy.
Okay.
So, they got all the riffraff from all over the state.
Yeah.
And so I told Fank, I said, God, why should I stay here? I can go home and make more money than I'm making here. And see, we only got 35 cents for a haircut. And so he said, I'll let you go if you'll sell me your tools. So I said, okay. Well, 2 months later, they got 12,000 soldiers, and they called me back. And I don't know what I was thinking either. I'm not going back. And I didn't. And I got my induction papers. I had to go to Milwaukee. Well, the first time I got a strep throat, and I was really sick. And I didn't even open the shop because I was sick. So Margaret called in, said, he's sick, he can't come. Yeah, we heard that. You get a doctor, so I had to have a doctor come down. call in, and I was really sick. So I went in, and I couldn't get over that. I was still on medication when I went in for the next. But a whole trainload from Madison went. God, this damnedest looking army you ever saw in your life. God, well, we were in our 40s, you know, and I was in good shape compared to the rest of them. I was about the best looking guy in the whole bunch. Oh, George Grimstead was, he was in pretty good shape. Well,
so this would have been 41 or 42?
I think 42.
Okay.
Maybe 43. Yeah, it could have been 43. It was just before the war was over.
Okay.
And now, God, you know, this dang medicine I was taking affected my urine, so I didn't pass. And then there's two guys couldn't take a leak, so I said, well, I'll fill it for you. So, God, we ended up in Milwaukee. Well, we were dressed, and we were dressed.
Ernie, you old dog, you. So you're peeing.
Then they accused me of taking something.
You're peeing in other people's cups.
Yeah, well, they wanted to get some lead. So I stayed in Milwaukee. Well, I stayed with Margaret's friends down there. I didn't want to go home and come back. I come home, passed. Then I got my induction papers. I was supposed to go in the Navy. God, I've been terrible. I don't like water. I get sick in the ocean. So I said, I'll work. I don't know how she'd have made it. I didn't think very fast, you know. I had no business not going back. But the way it turned out, it was fine. So I worked till Thursday night, and I said, let's get the heck. We didn't have any kids. Yes, we did too. We had 2 kids.
Now, time out. Now, this is 42, and you've got 2 children.
Yeah. Well, Mickey was just a baby.
Well, how old is Mickey? Because I'm going to be 60.
He's 64.
Mickey's 64? He's an old dog. Here,
He's to be 64 in February.
Okay, so Mickey's he's a baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I put aside on.
But you said you had 2 kids now?
2. Rodney was born before. He was born in 41, March 41. And Mickey was born 43. So this had to be 40. Could have been.
Yeah, that's about right. If Mickey's 64, then he was probably born in 43, 44.
40. Anyhow, I said we'd take a vacation. I had an aunt up north that I really liked. Margaret liked her. So we took the kids and headed up north. When they come back, Saturday, if I'd have worked the full week, I'd have never locked up at all. So postponed 30 days, and I got that for about a year and a half, 2 years. I got that every month. I never went to the Army.
Holy irony. Okay, so now it's 46, 47. You've got, the war's over. You've got 2 kids.
Yeah.
And now what I want to do is we kind of bring us to the present. How has Verona changed? Your time on the city council or whatever, and then I've got a series of questions I want to ask you that are kind of like yes/no questions, but we'll kind of go from there.
Well, I was on the city council. I don't remember what year. I was on there. I got so sick of that because we'd be there till midnight, never talking about nothing.
It hasn't changed much. Go on.
I said, I'm done with this. I ain't going to sit up here. I never was a guy to sit around like that. So then when they couldn't get anybody, and I think that was in the early 56, maybe 55, I don't know. Anyhow, I said, I'll take it, but I'm not going to run it the way it's been run. I said, we're going to have a system here. These people aren't going to come in here and keep us here all night talking about somebody's dog in the barking or something. So I said, we're going to have a meeting at 7. Anybody has anything to say, they got to have it, be here at 7. They got 5 minutes to And we always got done at 9 o'clock.
So you ran a tight ship.
That's the only way to run anything.
So how big is Verona now? Because when you came, it was just under 400.
Probably 600-700.
Now it's 600-700.
Maybe it's 800.
Are the problems in the mid-50s the same as they were when you came here? You don't really have, except for Carnes coming in, you don't really have much of an industrial base. The city doesn't want to grow that much.
Well, you see, you had Lyons got this farm up there, and this is the old Lyons farm, the old Wenger farm is what it is. We had, that was, and that's when I said we were going to put curb in, but we had our problems with that. You know, they always start stuff late, so we got through putting this, and then you had all these rules and regulations. You know, these houses were built, the curb and gutter was in, but the streets weren't done, which is wrong. We shouldn't have let them build, but we had the curb and gutter in, so we had that okay. But we didn't have them gravelled. Well, then we got a wet fall, you know, my God. And then, well, we had a meeting. I said, we got to get gravel on them roads, or I'll have to move out of town. And well, he said, then we had a lawyer out. We had trouble with a guy here. He'd come up and he'd talk, and I said, you're done for today. And I said, I told our lawyer, Virginia, I said, I want you out of this meeting. I'm getting sick of this guy. He was the nicest guy, but God, he could be nasty.
You don't know the name?
Burgess Ela. Well, he's dead now.
Burgess Elon?
Ela.
Ela, okay.
Yeah, and I'll never forget that. I don't dare, if I dare say what he said or done. You can wipe it out if you
okay.
want. After the meeting, this lawyer really set him down, and he went home, and after, well, you know, president, you always have stuff you got to pick up. The rest of them, I was picking it up. He says, come up to me and he says, why did you let me make a horse's ass of myself? Well, I said, you've been one all your life. You ought to learn pretty soon. You know, we got to be good friends after that.
Yep. Sometimes you got to tell them like it is, and everything is fine.
We were good friends after that. So, yeah.
So you've got 2 kids now?
Yeah, and then along comes the girl. That's when we had to build the house. See, that's when I bought the lot. You know what them lots costed?
Oh, what's a lot? Half acre?
No. They had, those lots were only 66 by 100.
Okay.
Whatever.
Couple $100.
No, it's more than that. 250, but the sewer and water was in.
Okay.
But no curb and gutter.
Okay.
So I bought a lot and a half. And then I did the same thing with that. I dug the basement, I didn't dig the basement. By now they had shovels. Dug the basement, put the basement in, and put the floor on in the fall. Now and then I built the garage, so we had a place to store stuff.
Well, let's go back to kind of your own. Are you playing ball? Are you still playing?
Oh, I never.
Ball?
After I was married, I never played.
Okay.
I was never good enough for that. They had a good ball team here at that time. Man, they had a team that played every Sunday in the summer. Good baseball.
Verona has become a baseball town, hasn't it?
Yeah. Oh God, we had a good team then. And then after that we had Riley. They had a good team. They played the Madison. We had some good ball clubs here. And we'd go to. Now nobody goes to see a ball game anymore.
What over the years now? So you started getting in here late, 1939, 40, 41. What would you say has been the biggest impact that Madison has had on Verona? Good or bad?
Well, I don't know. You see, the thing that it hasn't done, it's done away with all your small businesses like we used to have. We don't have, we had a lot of small businesses. You can't make those cool. For instance, I run the cabinet shop for several years. You couldn't make a thing like that go today.
So Madison's impact has been, other than the growth of the community,
It's been a change in times more than madness.
It's taken away from the small businesses.
Well,
That's
I
one
don't
of
think Madison did it, I just think the times did.
Okay.
I don't think, Madison, really Madison is not, they tell how great they are. They're a long ways from being a great town. They're a bunch of nuts as far as I'm concerned. They're putzing around with stuff that belongs to the United States government, and they're passing laws for that. Those guys, you go back in the early days, they had some good operations in Madison, but I wouldn't even give them good today. I'd give them lousy.
Okay.
They always complain about the state. If it wouldn't be for the state, what would you have it? They've driven every good business out of there. Oscar Mayer, Burgess Battery, everything, they kicked everything out.
I'm not arguing with you. I want you to say this. This is good stuff. Okay.
Well, that's the truth. What have they got? They had what's his name out of this new one? OPEC?
Epic.
Yep. They had that. They let it go. What did they ever do for anybody? Name one.
Well, this is your interview, not mine. Okay. So, what has been then, as long as we're going down that road, what has been the impact of, say, Mount Horeb or Fitchburg or on Verona, or Verona's on them?
Well, Mount Horeb is about the same. Mount Horeb is growing too. But Belleville is growing. And you know where the people are coming from? Madison. They're leaving it. If it's such a great place, why does everybody want to leave?
Okay, time. I got to stop this, Ernie. Okay, I'm starting my second tape. Ernie's on a roll here. He's all upset with Madison. What has Madison ever done? And my most recent question of Ernie was, what has been Verona's impact on Fitchburg or Mount Horeb, or Mount Horeb's on Verona? Now I have one more question, and we'll kind of add that to it. When you go through Stoughton, or you go through Mount Horeb, or Cambridge, or cities like that, Dodgeville, there is a unique downtown.
Yeah.
And when I came here in '70, you could see that coming in, even then, 40 years ago. And Verona has a downtown, but it doesn't have, although I think it's starting to get there, it doesn't have that downtown feeling. Why is that?
Well, I think, we're better off than Middleton when it comes to downtown. Now, we've got the Main Street, we've got some pretty nice buildings there. We got Miller's, we got Ace Hardware, and now where the
bank, and there's that
bank, we got two banks,
banks,
three banks, right downtown. It's not that bad, and we're getting parking.
Why do you think it's taken Verona this long to kind of start to develop that downtown idea, the feeling of it, rather than say like Dodgeville and Mount Horeb and Stoughton?
You had to get somebody you gotta, Ace Hardware. You got to give them credit. They moved out of that. Then the World of Variety come in and they fixed that up.
Yep.
And there was a time they were going to move the Baptist church out, and that's never going to be now. They're going to.
What was going to be there?
Well, they were, I don't know, some developer. I don't know what they were going to do with it.
But that's not going to happen now.
I don't think so, not now, because they turned it down, and they had property bought, I guess, or talked to. And you see, now you take this area down here, we're getting a new addition, you might say, on the north end there. You got liquor store and eating place.
So you think we're heading in that direction? Kind of starting to develop more.
Well, there's no place to build anymore. You know, the school has got, you can't go that direction, the school has got all the land. No doubt, but we are getting, out where the county farm was, that's going to be like downtown.
Would you say that the one entity, the one organization that's had the most impact on Verona has been the school district, the schools, or not? No.
Oh, they're bound to, because, God, that's what brings a lot of people here. All these kids, and of course they're building high schools all over the place.
When you were the town chairman or whatever, were there any problems that you had with the school, or do you get along with it pretty well?
We never had any problems with the school. No, I,
Remember who the superintendent was when you were the head of the city?
yes, God, I just saw him the other day.
That's
At
all
a
right.
funeral. I can't think what his name was. He's a heck of a nice guy.
Would you say that Verona has been more or less receptive to change over the year?
They were, when I come in here, they didn't want to change it. That's changed too. You got different people.
So when you came in,
There's only one guy from the old school that says anything anymore, and that's Keith.
Yep.
Go in there and find he's complaining all the time.
are you Keith buddies?
I wouldn't say we're buddies, we're friends.
Friends, okay. That's all right.
I won't say
That's all right. I don't. Now, now I'm going to ask you a couple of more kind of fill in the blank questions. All right. And if you don't want to answer me, don't have
Oh,
to.
I'll answer.
Okay, here we go. Would you say that Verona is generally receptive to change or less receptive to change? Economic change, businesses, whatever.
I think it's changed to be more receptive compared to what it was when I came here.
Okay, if you had to pick one issue or person that has been a recurring issue in Verona, what would it be? Like in 1940 when you came here, the big issue was the school. In 2007, the big issue was the school. Has there been like one recurring thing over and over and over? And it doesn't have to be. I'm just asking you.
I wouldn't know. That's a pretty tough one to answer. Because, you know, I can remember when they argued forever to build a high school. And it was all, so it's...
Well, that's right. If you think about one, let me know. If Verona could do it over again, it would have been better if Verona had or had not done something. If you had to do over again, you never would have brought Carnes. Not, I don't
No,
think.
Carnes has been
Yeah.
a lifesaver for
Right.
Verona.
Well, it is.
But you see, you got to give these later people that have been in office, they've done a terrific job of getting industry in here. You can't, now you can bitch about these guys all you want. They've got up Epic or whatever, and they got all, drive around the south side and see all the businesses we've got.
So you don't think that there's one thing that they should or should not have done over the years? It's been pretty good.
There's nobody that doesn't make a mistake, but I don't think anybody should say they've done a terrible job. I can't see it. I don't know enough. I tell you, I don't watch politics much anymore. I'm not interested. I never was a politician.
All right, in the 60 years, give or take, that you've lived in Verona, what would you say was the one event that had the most impact on Verona? The biggest thing that ever happened to Verona was?
I don't know.
When you moved in.
Well, I think I'll still go back to Carnes. I think that was
Okay.
the breaking in of getting industry in here.
Okay, that's fine.
But I'm not saying they've done a terrific job since. You know, I don't believe in knocking other people. But you hear people say we should never got Epic. Well, I can't see that, because you go out there and look at those buildings. They're going to pay taxes on that stuff, and I don't think One guy told me they're going to be broke in 2 years. I don't know how you get broke in 2 years with a setup.
I don't see that happening. So, another one. In 20 years, I'm going to come back here and knock on your door.
I won't be wrong.
Oh, we'll see. And I'm going to say, Ernie, how has Verona changed in 20 years? What do you think would be the biggest thing changed in Verona between today and 20 years from now?
That's pretty hard. Somebody had told me 20 years ago Verona would be like this today. I'd been off so far, it'd been pitiful. Who'd ever believe, that I could get lost in Verona?
Okay, now I've got a whole series of questions here, like what, 20 questions.
Oh,
And all they're going to be is like real quick answers, like first response, okay?
okay.
Who's your first boyfriend? Your first best buddy?
In Verona?
Anywhere.
Well,
Other than your family, other than say your brother or something.
Bob Troller's been my best friend for 40 years.
Bob Troller?
I cut his hair every Thursday. We go out for a drink every Thursday.
What are you drinking?
That's none of your business.
Okay. Okay, Ernie. Okay. All right. Did you know what you wanted to be when you were a kid, when you grew up?
No. I wanted to be a farmer then.
Okay.
I had never dreamt I'd be anything but a farmer.
Okay. What was your happiest day in school? When you were in school, either elementary school or high school, or when you were at the barber school, what was your happiest day, best day you ever had?
I think my happiest day in grade school when I beat up that big kid.
Okay, knocked him down the stairs.
Huh?
And you knocked him down the stairs?
No, this was in grade school.
Okay.
But I had to sit after school for a whole month.
Okay. Does Mickey know this?
I don't know.
Well, wait till I tell him his dad could knock somebody down. Okay. What's your favorite color?
I never knocked him down. I just beat him up good. You
Okay.
couldn't knock him down.
Okay.
You're too big.
What's your favorite color?
Oh God, I've always liked red.
Red. What's your favorite movie?
Going my way.
Barry Fitzgerald?
Yeah.
Oh. What's your favorite song?
Well, Bing Crosby sang a lot of songs. I'll be home for Christmas. I always like
Oh,
that.
that's a good one. Okay. So if I said who's your favorite singer, you can say Bing Crosby.
Okay. There was a lot of them back then, but he was tops.
Who's your favorite actor?
Well, I go right to him. He was in. I saw more good movies with Bing Crosby and Bob Hope than anybody. I never go to movies anymore because I discuss it. They can't do anything without swearing or turning dirty jokes. I don't get no kick.
Who's your favorite actress?
Let me see. Let me think a little on that one.
Well, that's all right. If you don't know right now, you can tell me a little bit later. When you were raising your children, who was a disciplinarian, you or your wife?
Oh God, we were both pretty good. My wife was tough too. Our kids didn't get by with much.
So
They got by with, not if we do with
Okay. Okay.
They know somebody smart enough. There's nobody smart enough to be as smart as their kids.
That's true. That's true.
I can give you illustrations of that. I had a kid work for me. He wanted a shoe shine stand. And I said, you wouldn't make any money here, shoe shine. Oh, yeah. So I had a lot of time, so I made him bought him some equipment. And he'd make, some Saturdays he'd make $1, he'd get 10 shoe shine. And then he got a bunch of kids from Verona got caught stealing watermelons. They hadn't done anything wrong, but there'd been a bunch in there the night before and smashed them. And they had cops waiting, and of course, Barney was one of the 10 that got caught.
Barney who?
Barney Lehman, he was the preacher's kid.
Okay. The preacher's kid.
He come in the morning and he wanted to borrow $10. I said, no, Barney. I said, well, you wanted $10. Well, we got caught out. I said, what's the difference? I said, your dad stole watermelons too. I just said it because all kids did.
Yeah.
That night come, Barney, got sitting there, and we didn't have to make appointments them days. People think you were crazy if you had to have an appointment to get a haircut. And, sat there after 6 o'clock, and I said, Barney, who told you my dad stole Walter? I said, nobody, I just guessed. And I had a kid work for me in the cabinet shop. He got, I don't know, he stole a gallon of wine from his dad, and he got caught, and he got put in the junk. So I had to go and bail him out. And of course, at that time, the guy that was justice of the peace here, right away come down, get a haircut. Said, your boy got in trouble. I said, that's no worse than you guys from Cross Plain, you got caught with the moonshine. Who told you? I hit it again.
You were guessing, but you guessed right.
Yeah.
Oh, Ernie. What role did religion play, either in your life when you were a kid, or after you came to Verona, or it didn't play much of one?
We went to church every Sunday when I was a kid. And I went to church every Sunday since. I went to Catholic church. Plain didn't have another church. I was used to going to church. So I went Catholic church a year before we didn't get much out of it because it was Latin. But to hear the sermon. And you had prayer, they give you a prayer book you could read.
What would you like to do that you have never done before?
God, I've done about everything I wanted to do. I wanted to go to Alaska. I didn't get there because Margaret had a stroke. Otherwise, I did pretty much everything.
So maybe go to Alaska, and you had that plan.
We had it planned. But she wanted me to go, but I didn't. I didn't know. We did everything together.
Well, when did she pass away?
God, that'd be 5 years.
5 years.
5 years, 17th of March.
What's the biggest risk you ever took?
Never took many because I grew up in the Depression.
Ernie, if you're going to get in a car or whatever and drive to Madison, or you got in a train and went down to Chicago, that's kind of a risk. When you went over to Iowa and helped run a farm, that was a risk. What's the biggest risk you ever took? Asking your wife to marry her? She might have said no.
That would have been a bad one. I tell you, you see, when I was a kid, we never got any money but we could raise a calf, or we could raise a pig, or we could have an acre of corn. And I lost all that in the bank. Went to Mount Hope, went farming. I got hooked for a couple hundred again, and so I could have made a lot of money. My dad come up one time. He said, "I got a farm we could buy for $30,000. I'll borrow you all the money. It's got everything. All you got to do is get somebody to run it. You get it run on halves. You can't lose." And I didn't take it.
When did your father pass away?
Well, if you had known he'd lived that long, I would have taken it. But $30,000, and you got a family of 10 other people, and if he would have died, where the heck would I get 30,000?
When did your father die? Remember?
Oh, a long time after that. He was 84. God, it's a long time ago. You know, I'm pretty 100 years old.
No way.
Yeah.
You don't look a day over 50, Ernie.
Yeah.
Okay, Ernie, if you could spend time with a famous person, living or dead, who would it be?
Well, if I could spend time with somebody that I knew that I would enjoy, I'd like to spend it with Ed Kramer.
Ed Kramer.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the guy that helped you out at plane and all that.
He was such an interesting person, and he was a great guy.
When you were a young adult, would you say it was tougher growing up then than it is today? Or is it tougher today than it was when you were, say, in your teens or 20s?
We didn't know it was tough. We didn't think anything was tough. Really. You knew if you wanted a job, then you had to work like the Dickens, because there was somebody there, somebody there, take, you don't take it, I'll take it.
See, my father My father passed away 2 years ago, and he would have been 85 or 6 now, and you're going to be 90.
Well, I was just 97.
97. Okay, so he would have been about 10 years younger than you. But you two guys are a lot alike. It's just what I hear.
We probably went through the same.
Yeah, because he lived on a farm. Some of this, now they're not exact, but there's
That's
some.
not nobody exact.
Yeah, but they're not that dissimilar to what some of the stories you're telling. Okay, so you're telling me that you don't know if it was tougher then than it is today. It was just.
I don't. We never felt we had it tough. I tell you, the toughest years I put in was after I got here, and we were strapped. Well, you had. I worked as late as 2 o'clock in the morning because I needed the money. See, these hell, Mick gets more for tips than I got when I worked. For God's sake, you know. See, you know, when I go out to eat now, and you take somebody along, you got $25, $30, you know. We used to work all month for that.
When I came to Verona in '70, you cut my hair one of the first days I was here. You don't even remember that, do you?
Oh God, if I could remember, I don't. I you know, I can remember pretty good back a ways. I can't remember dates, but I can remember all this stuff.
Okay, I've got one more question. It's kind of a multiple part question. And then when you're done answering it, if you have anything else you want to add, you can add it and then we're done. Okay? So, is there such a thing as a just war? Like World War I or World War II or Korea? Like, everybody I've talked to has said that they thought that World War II was a just war. We were right to be in it.
I agree with that.
Okay. Would you?
I don't know. World War I was too young, but I can remember World War I. Well, because I can remember the day that World War I was done, because I was just a kid, but my uncle and I were helping my other uncle haul manure, and we were close enough we could hear the shooting in Blanchardville, so we just left our forks right there into town. He had a Model T car, and we went. I was just a kid, you know, but I was down in on that celebration, World War I.
Okay, so getting back to the question, is there such a thing? I mean, as a just war, you've got to fight this one, or there is.
Well, World War II, World War I, Hitler would have taken over.
Okay, so that's a just war.
Yeah, I think
That's correct. How about Korea?
that should not. I think we should never been.
How about Vietnam?
Should
Should have been that one. How about the stuff we're doing now?
I don't think we should have been there. I think this way. I don't think you can help those people over there because they've been fighting since we know.
Right.
Those people just like to kill each other. So let them kill each other. Let's stay here. I don't think we're ever going to straighten them up.
Okay, last question. And I think you've already kind of answered this. In the 50 or 60 years here in Verona, the most dominant personalities, male or female, the people who kind of run the community, would be the Millers, Stewart, and just, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, or fill in the blanks. Who would be the
Well,
Weiland?
no, Weiland was not it. But I don't want to answer that. I think that to me, way back, Frank Stewart was a wonderful guy. But I think Alex Miller, the banker, I think he was one of the smartest guys we've ever seen.
Okay.
Because he was a good friend of mine. That makes you.
Yeah, no, that's fine, Ernie.
But we've had a lot of nice people, you know, wonderful people. I would pick Frank way back. Later years now, I don't think there's anybody really outstanding that's done it. Sure, outside, but Alex he run a good bank, and he was a good friend of mine, and I don't know how that happened. I really don't know how we went to the horse races together, and he's dead, and I think everybody should know. When he hired, we were on the way to Chicago, he says, I hired Chuck, Junior can't run the bank. He was right way back then. Junior couldn't run the bank, and this kid was worse. If they would have got somebody in Chuck's place, we'd never have what you had today. Junior, you got to be smart to run a bank. Now Junior is a nice fellow, nothing wrong. He's like me, he ain't overly sharp.
Oh, Ernie, you don't
No, I'm not. I couldn't run a bank either.
You don't give yourself.
We all have our, but you got to be smart enough to realize your own capacity. You know.
So, when you were looking for that first barbershop, you could have gone to Poinet, here, or was it Blanchardville? You said.
Broadhead.
Broadhead, and you ended up here. Was that a good move?
I've been real happy with my life.
Great.
I didn't make any money barbering, but I made some.
Well, that's not what your kid says. Your kid says you're loaded. Mickey says you got.
I wish I had his money.
Mickey says you've got more money than you know what to do with.
No, I don't have. I have plenty. I have all I want, and I'm spending it too. I'm not going to die just because I'm old. I learned that way back when I did the West Side of Madison, all the retired guys for 15 years. I used to cut the ladies' hair that was a nurse for the West Side of Madison. She got me that job. And I watched those, you know, the average retiree that sits down and don't do anything, how long he lives?
Not very.
2 years is the limit.
Really?
Yeah. And I buried them one after the other for 15 years. The last one is the one that I didn't wake up until about a year before I quit. Well, I quit when that gal quit. When she retired, I said I'm going to work for anybody else. But I had a couple. Margaret used to go with me. We'd start over by St. Mary's, and we ended up in Middleton.
Okay.
We go all the way across town. And there was a couple. They were about our age, you know. And God, all of a sudden, why he must have got picked up for drunken driving or something, because he could have drove a car. And she had a heart attack. And he was fine. The second year, well, Margaret noticed it about September or October. She said, Bill looks bad. What's the matter with him? Well, I hadn't looked much at him. We'd have to go like heck to get through by 5 o'clock. In middle, we always ended up, an old customer of mine cut his hair, and then he'd always make a Manhattan, and God, he was so strong, couldn't drive, so we'd have to have dinner, and then we'd go home. And so February I went in there, boy, he was in terrible shape. I said, Bill, what is your problem? Are you sick? No. He said, here I sit, day in and day out. Nobody comes. Nobody calls up. Don't have a decent meal. And I said, when my wife died, he said, that telephone rang, they brought food, nobody comes. Well, I said, Bill, did you ever take anybody out to eat? No. He said, that costs money. So they'd sooner die than spend a nickel.
Yeah.
That's the solution I come up with. So I don't sit home. I go out once or twice a week and keep busy. You got to be busy. You don't have to do what I do, but you got to do something.
And cause trouble, right?
Huh?
You stir up trouble around Verona.
What?
You stir up trouble around Verona.
No, I don't. Sir. I don't do nothing.
Okay, I'm getting ready to go, Ernie, but I've got one last question. Do you have anything else? Words of wisdom, advice, or a piece of history, trivia, something that nobody else knows about Verona that you want to share and put on my table?
I think I said about everything I know.
Well, I haven't done that, but...
Well, you know, you go back through Verona. I had a lot of people I thought a lot of. One of them was Ellick Miller. I always thought a lot of George Beck, who was an awful nice person. He ran the blacksmith shop. And there's a lot. Old Casey Jones was a good friend of mine. He was his principal when I come here. He was a great guy.
Is that Curtis Jones Field? Is that the football field? Curtis Jones?
No, that would be his son.
His son.
Yeah.
And how
He was the principal here and basketball coach. And he's a hunting buddy of mine.
Curtis Jones was.
No, his dad.
Oh, his dad was. Okay. But the field is named after the son.
Yeah.
Okay. Was he a good football player, basketball player?
Curtis was a heck of a nice guy. He ran Mobile Station, and everybody liked him. It's too bad he had died so young.
Well, Ernie, I'm going to start putting stuff away here. I want to thank you very much.
Well, God,
this has been a treat.
I tell you, that's something I hate to do is talk.
What? Yeah, I can tell. You're a talking machine here. Thanks a lot, Ernie. I'm going to start packing up. You know, anything else you want to say?
No,
Any words of wisdom?
No, I'm not wise.
Yeah. Okay.